tell you the truth, guys, with me stating on how Xiaolin Chronicles is literally what retcons nearly everything of what Xiaolin Showdown accomplished, and now we reach to the Christmas episode, I'm gonna be really honest with you, it really feels like that this franchise just desperately wants to have a Christmas episode, and yet at the same time, it's not even bothering on trying to make a good episode involving Christmas, involving Xiaolin Showdown characters. However, I'm not saying it's a bad idea. The problem with that is that the execution of this episode just sums up a lot that Xiaolin Chronicles for not trying too hard and being toned down. It's possible to make an episode centering around the holidays, mainly Christmas, and considering that the original didn't have a Halloween or Valentine's Day or a Christmas episode whatsoever, it really shows. And since Xiaolin Chronicles isn't doing a good job when it comes to being its own thing despite being a revival and sequel towards Xiaolin Showdown, I'm gonna be comparing Omi Saves the Holidays to the Season 3 episode Omi Town. To tell you the truth, those huge differences between the two episodes, obviously the Chronicles episode centering around Christmas, but to tell you the truth, the main focus is mainly Omi himself, and mainly in the fact that in the Showdown episode, he's just trying to find his family, while in the Christmas episode, it's mainly his birthday happening on the same day as Christmas. Yeah. I don't know what to say on the fact that Xiaolin Chronicles are not trying, even though I repeated that earlier, but I'm gonna be real with you. In Omi Town, where Omi is really depressed that he doesn't know his parents because he thinks he doesn't have them, which leads to him and his friends go on a journey to find where he belongs. And when it comes to the Xiaolin Chronicles episode, well, he can't be in the holiday spirit because it's always bad luck to him. It's still not gonna make me convinced. Like, ignoring the fact that he and Chase Young are relatives, shockingly, it still not make me convinced that Omi is literally this depressed when it comes to the holiday. I understand that it's mainly people's feelings towards a holiday that they're not into, which I can understand where they're coming from, but for me personally, this episode, from beginning to end, despite being the Christmas episode, isn't even trying to take it seriously, and it's mainly a cheesy Christmas episode. And when I mean cheesy, it's mainly the fact that the main villain, Jack Spicer, is turning Christmas into Jackmas. I wish I would make that up, but this is Jack Spicer we're talking about. You know, as much as people may have critiques centering around the antagonists of the third season of Xiaolin Showdown, mainly Ruya's conflict with Chase Young, which leads to her going solo alone to get some Shinkan Wu for herself, which for me personally, she's still doing the same thing because she doesn't have all of her powers. In comparison to how she's portrayed in Xiaolin Chronicles, I can instantly feel that Ruya is actually being realistic in the Season 3 episode, and when it came to the criticism, it's not like that Xiaolin Showdown is trying too hard when it comes to the other antagonists, because when it comes to Hannibal Roy Bean and Hannibal Roy Bean, even though that I found most of his character questionable, especially how he easily got the easy way out in the finale of this show, he can at least carry an episode when it comes to the advantages that he has, since that he teamworked with Jack Spicer in order to make every one of Omi's residents robots. To tell you the truth, this may be a huge cop-out on what Jack Spicer and the other characters were doing, but to tell you the truth, it's really the villains that actually make them villains. And to tell you the truth, this was a better devious plan that Hannibal Roy Bean did in comparison to what he did in the finale. I'm sorry, I just can't get over that. Here's the thing, during my first watch of this episode, probably last year because I was planning on reviewing it in preparation for last year's schedule, I honestly felt it was way too cheesy for me to understand the meaning of the entire episode. But when it came to my second rewatch, it just gave me the impression that this episode alone is just trying to do a Christmas episode centering around Xiaolin Showdown characters. Like, Santa being it, it's way too cheesy, and you would never expect that type of character to happen in the main series. Like, there may be comedic characters and the villains when it comes to their alliances with Jack Spicer, but at the same time, they were at least believable that they can actually fit into the Xiaolin Showdown world. Like, I understand that including Santa doesn't break anything, but at the same time, it just feels like they're taking a note on what Santa from other episodes of other cartoon shows do, mainly go back on top and face off the bad guys, which isn't a bad idea. It's just way too predictable. And the biggest disadvantage of the Christmas episode is the fact that it fails to make me feel sympathy towards Omi, while in Omi Town does completely that. Let me just say this right now, even if you may feel down during the Christmas season, in comparison to Omi Town, it's completely 180, mainly the fact that Omi is feeling depressed that he never had a family, or so he thought, and he didn't realize that his family was waiting for him because he came from a place that he didn't remember, and he got raised at the Xiaolin Temple in order to be the way he is. Granted, it doesn't excuse on the fact that we are never going to have an episode centering around Omi finding his parents for real, but I don't blame that considering that Season 4 didn't happen because of a merger that happened back in the day. Yes, there was a merger that happened that cancelled this show in some sorts, but it's not as bad as the current merger of Warner Bros. Discovery. My point is that the conflict centering around Omi's parents, mainly his mom and dad, you can instantly tell that he feels so depressed that he wants to spend his time with them, mainly staying at their place, considering that it's not the same parents from Raimundo, Kimiko, and Clay. You can honestly tell that if Omi was transferred from that location to the Xiaolin Temple, it would have been a huge difference. But considering he spent his life, well mainly most of his life, at the Xiaolin Temple, which really shows that his backstory hasn't been revealed yet, it gave me the impression that he pretty much came from a place that was a lot more different in comparison to what we saw from this episode. Granted, when it comes to the location itself, it kind of feels believable that Omi would live like this, but if it wasn't the case, then I'm pretty sure that the illusion that Omi had when it comes to his family, and thinking about it a little bit more when it comes to his mom and dad, it's always a difficult way to be for that when it comes to the villains taking advantage. Like, this show tries a lot to make the villains a lot more evilly, which is no surprise, but to give this episode credit, you can easily get the impression that Omi would be willing to stay with his parents. Granted, it may be confusing when it comes to how it was resolved later on with unanswered questions, mainly Master Fun having second thoughts about it, but to tell you the truth, mainly it's probably on the fact that Master Fun just didn't know much about Omi other than finding him for the first time. And the huge difference between Omi Town and Omi Saves the Holidays is that the Christmas episode is supposed to be the day where Omi's birthday is happening. We don't even get any information on how he's born, and I understand that the entire intention of this episode isn't supposed to be about where Omi came from, but at the same time, they just don't even bother to do anything interesting with it. And that's the sad reality, is that these Xiaolin Chronicles episodes barely have any focus on making the character as the main character, and with the problem centering around Omi being the main character and he doesn't contribute much on being the main character, then it really shows that they're not even trying. Especially the whole Jack Spicer taking over Christmas and turning into Jacksmith. Like, I know people may not agree with me on this, but I don't think that Jack Spicer would do any of that in the main series. Since that his main priority is to take over the world, him mainly taking over Christmas is really off-putting, and even though I understand that Christmas may put mad with power into other people, but at the same time, it just really feels like this entire plan wouldn't do anything other than making kids upset during Christmas, which is far more smaller in comparison to taking over the entire world. And considering that his flashback centers around him hating Christmas and him taking over it, I don't even know how complicated Jack Spicer's life was, but to tell you the truth, it just feels like this is nowhere near as bad as the other things, mainly at the fact that he took matters into his own hands, and it doesn't change the fact that he was wearing his makeup, his hair, his goggles and whatnot at a very young age. You know, is it just weird that we should have learned more about Jack Spicer's past rather than living in his parents' basement? Because for me personally, this is literally to the point where we really need more development from this character rather than being a comic relief. So all that's left when it comes to the comparisons is mainly the Xiaolin Showdown itself, and this may be shocking to think about, but I actually found the Xiaolin Showdown from the main series a weak one in comparison to Xiaolin Chronicles. So there was one thing that the Christmas episode did right, but let's get into the Xiaolin Showdowns. The showdown in Omi Town is bamboo hopping, where if the opponent falls down, they use, and to tell you the truth, this is similar to the Xiaolin Showdown from the Year of the Green Monkey, where Omi and Jack Spicer were fighting each other, and that battle was much more better than this because it's mainly Omi's mother nagging, and to tell you the truth, the problem that I have with it is that we don't get a lot of screen time centering around Omi and his parents. Like, I understand that that's not really Omi's mother, but in comparison to the Xiaolin Showdown from that episode, mainly centering around Jack Spicer holding on to the monkey staff for too long, it didn't make me impressed. Like, you can probably have a different perspective of this when you watch this episode for the first time and you're a huge fan of the show, but I'm gonna be truthfully honest, when I first watched this episode at a very young age, I wasn't really tearful when it came to realizing that Omi's mother was a robot the entire time. But at least it ended up giving us this legendary moment. To tell you the truth, this episode tried way too hard on the facial expressions on Omi, and this is pure gold. The showdown in Chronicles is Winter Havoc, while the objective is to reach to the top of the Christmas tree and get the Shanganru. I understand that the CGI may get in the way, but to tell you the truth, despite that, and the fact that this is better than the last showdown I talked about centering around this show, it kind of feels like it's trying a lot more to make this Xiaolin Showdown Christmas theme, and if that was mainly their true intentions in all this, then I don't really blame them. I found the idea of the characters reaching to the top, while it may have similarities from old Xiaolin Showdowns, still feel very creative to say the least. And to tell you the truth, if I was really expecting this to happen when it comes to 2D animation, it wouldn't even work. Like, to give the CGI its credit, this is literally the best CGI Xiaolin Showdown I've witnessed in a while. Though then again, that's not saying much considering that I didn't watch most of the show, but after witnessing the Xiaolin Showdown from the last Xiaolin Chronicles that I've talked about, it's really not that difficult to see that this showdown is better than that. That's literally the only positive that I have centering around this episode from Omi Town, but at the same time, the Christmas episode still lacks in comparison to Omi Town. Whenever I think about Christmas, I don't usually think about these types of characters celebrating Christmas. Like, for how serious the show was, with this show coming along, it really feels like they just didn't know how to handle on doing something interesting, which I think could be the case, but since that this show got cancelled afterwards, they decided to make a Christmas episode since this ended up becoming one of the final episodes of Xiaolin Chronicles. It's no surprise that Omi Town is the better episode over Omi Saves the Holidays, but to tell you the truth, when it came to how Xiaolin Showdown's franchise can't be able to connect to the current audience by the time Xiaolin Chronicles came out, since it doesn't know what it wanted to be, then maybe it's for the best that Xiaolin Showdown probably stops. Like, I understand though other potential ideas I have when it comes to this continuing if it did, but let's be real, it really feels like that Xiaolin Showdown is one of those franchises that can't be able to go on forever. When it comes to revivals, that is. So, to be a bit truthful about this, if you're going to do a revival of a show and have these changes, just make sure that you actually make the episodes at least good and at least understanding. Like, if you're going to do a Christmas episode in a revival, don't make it this cheesy. Like, this episode isn't terrible. The last episode that I've talked about months ago is worse than this, but at the same time, it kind of shows that the Xiaolin Showdown franchise can't be able to make a good holiday episode no matter what they do. I'm giving Omi Town a 7.75 out of 10, while Omi Saves the Holidays gets a 5 out of 10.